I completely missed the mark on this movie. You know, I saw this trailer practically the moment it came out. I stared it directly in the face and I said, no, I'm not gonna make a video on it. I don't know why. I sort of figured with me usually doing animated movies, this it doesn't really count. It's a CGI hybrid live action, who cares? Though I have previously done some coverage of the funkier Ryan Reynolds project ideas, and then I got a whole bunch of suggestions over this movie. So here we are, hope you had a lovely Christmas. Let's get back into business, shall we? Gone are the days of 2023 highlight lists. Let's talk a little bit of 2024. Now, this trailer you probably saw a good couple weeks ago, but there has been little murmurs of new details and just information you might not have otherwise known from just seeing it with your eyes. So let me give you the whole production detail rundown. Now, at the start, this is all about imaginary friends, shortened to IFs in this world, in a very simplistic way, sure. Following the plot whereby a young girl who goes through a difficult experience begins to see everyone's imaginary friends who have been left behind as their real-life friends have grown up. Main character B then discovers that her neighbor, the man upstairs, has the very same ability. That's all you know up front. Sounds a little bit like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. For me personally, that's one of my fan favorite childhood cartoons. With that cartoon being all about imaginary friends who have been abandoned and end up going to a foster home. And then there's one kid there, and even then there's only two other humans and people suspect one of them is an imaginary friend of the other. With the idea of an imaginary friend, you can also hark connections to perhaps Disney Pixar's Inside Out, where we had Bing Bong eventually being abandoned and disappearing into the mental ether. Or if you have a bit more of a British twang, or a US filtered version of British twang, you then always have BBC Ghosts, or US Ghosts, all about, again, not quite imaginary friends, but how someone goes through an incident that allows them to see invisible people. And based off of just this little plot alone, I am not as 100% on board as I think a lot of other people are. I mean, for a start, I've already just shown you 3 different connections of stories this has sounded kind of similar to. Imaginary friends are kind of an original idea for a movie or a show, but also, it kind of pops up a lot more recently. I don't know if it's really going to have the emotional hits of Inside Out and Bing Bong, or if it's going to be as consistently good as BBC Ghosts. I've got all sorts of gripes and thoughts and opinions, but we'll go through it a little bit in chronological order as we hear a little bit more of how this movie came to be, yeah? Turn back time to October 2019 and we come to the first notable date of production details, whereby this movie was being bidded on by several studios hoping to earn the rights to distribute this movie. With the rivals back then being Paramount Pictures, Sony, as well as Lionsgate, and some others in order to eventually win the rights to Imaginary Friends. And it was at this time that bidding ended and Paramount Pictures were the ones to take it. Skip ahead 2 years, and I guess proper pre-production had progressed, as then in May 2021, Krasinski and Reynolds companies signed first-look deals with Paramount. Yes, this is being helmed obviously by Ryan Reynolds and his studio, but also, most notably, there is John Krasinski as well, being involved not only as just the director, but also the writer too. This is his project more than anything, and Ryan Reynolds is kind of slapped on as a very big, loud branding piece. Yeah, it's kind of the recent Ryan Reynolds thing, you know? He's like the good version of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Move forward to October 2021, and we start getting more remnants of the cast coming in, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Fiona Shaw joining the cast. Now, these aren't just here to be there as celebrities playing themselves, like Ryan Reynolds essentially is, because this is a CGI live-action hybrid, it can do a lot of that funky, fantastical, trending character casting thing where all sorts of celebrities can make an appearance in voice form only. You don't need voice actors anymore, just get the big face names that we know, put them into the animated characters. Still, yes, that's what's going on here. With Phoebe Waller-Bridge, previously known for Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny, I guess, but most notably Fleabag, and also running all sorts of producer things for Amazon, they are playing as Blossom, which is this imaginary friend right here. A beautiful mix of kind of Bendy and Betty Boop, I guess? I love this style. I think this is probably my favorite designed character out of the bunch, but yeah, she's the voice of her. And as for Fiona Shaw, she, previously doing Killing Eve, is playing grandmother. Whether that is an animated grandmother or an actual grandmother is yet to be seen. Still, that is the early murmurings of cast introduction, as skip ahead a little bit further to January of 2022, and Steve Carell, Alan Kim, Kaylee Fleming, and Louis Gossett Jr. then joined. coming from all sorts of histories, but the one I want to point out first and foremost is Kaylee Fleming. Now this might not be a name or a face you recognize, but looking at their IMDb history, they've got some interesting connections. I like this as like a simple thing I've discovered. Maybe they're big and I just don't realize, but they played young Rey in Star Wars, the new trilogy of course. They played Judith Grimes in The Walking Dead, they were in Preacher and Peppermint, and they played Kid Sylvia in Loki. They seem to be the quintessential go-to young version of main protagonists in recent movies. And now, I guess, finally, they get their upfront, pretty central role, no longer as the kid version of somebody else, which I just think's lovely. It's a young, presumably talented actor finally coming into the limelight now they've reached a certain age range. I don't know, just from seeing that they've played 3 different, specifically kids roles, just makes me happy to see them in a bigger one. Although I guess time was gonna happen anyway. That being said, there's not really been too much from the trailer to make me particularly impressed by any of the performances, to be honest. I think one of the main hesitations for me is I currently don't like the main imaginary friend. I think they're just a bit too big for my liking. They're not really all that funny. I don't like him struggling to not say the word if, and he just looks like Grimes from the McDonald's branding. What I'd really want to see with the idea of imaginary friends is some interesting imaginary friends, you know? One of them's a teddy bear, which is, I guess, expected, but kind of boring. I love the lady character here and like a giant flower that's apparently Matt Damon. I'm sure that'll be fun. Not a big fan of the one they comment on in the hallway. Maybe the marshmallow's funny. I don't know, I'd want to see more variety in the monsters. That can actually be genuinely interesting. Or if you go back to Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, they had a few interesting characters with different traits. Like how about the fact that the main basketball imaginary friend only has one arm? That's like such an interesting disability they could play with. I think it all comes down to where is this story writing going, and I'm curious to see if it's going to be anything close to the emotions of BBC Ghosts or Inside Out, or if it's just kind of standard, you know? I bet the main antagonist is someone who has to confront their imaginary friend by the end of the movie. And we'll be like, wow, crazy. Never thought that would happen. Or it's going to be revealed, wow, Ryan Reynolds was an imaginary friend the whole time. It sure is suspicious that his name isn't a name, it's just the man upstairs, capitalized and everything, because the main character imagined that they needed someone who could help them see who the imaginary people were. Oh my god, they were imaginary the whole time, and then they disappear, well, bye-bye. You know, it's just like, there's very classic tropes they can step over that aren't that impressive and pretty predictable. Hey there, thank you for making it halfway through this video. If you're interested in hearing more production details on any new movies and news and trailers and such, feel free to subscribe and let us know what movies you'd like us to cover. As I said before, we do generally do animated stuff, but apparently live-action hybrids are okay too. You can let me know down in the YouTube comments below or over on our Discord server. Otherwise, thank you for making it halfway, and let's get back to it. And Happy New Year. I think this would currently go in a very generic direction, and that's where my hesitation comes from. Not to mention, I'm kind of personally getting a little bit fatigued of the Ryan Reynolds-isms, you know? I was a big fan of Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds doing his Ryan Reynolds thing. I really enjoyed Free Guy. It was Ryan Reynolds doing his Ryan Reynolds thing, but I wasn't tired of it yet. This would potentially be tiring if it is just Ryan Reynolds playing himself. Now, actually, from what we've seen, it might be a little bit different. Instead of being the kooky comedic relief, he looks like he's trying to be a bit more of a straight man about it all, and I'll be curious to see if that comes out, because I don't know, like, I'm not sold on a Ryan Reynolds movie as much as I used to be. The branding's getting a little stale to me. Anyway, Alan Kim is said to be playing a character called Benjamin. Louis Gossett Jr. is said to be playing the bear. I presume it's this one here. And then you've got Steve Carell, who is playing the big boy, of course, Blue. Are you kidding me? His name is Blue? Like literally how the main imaginary friend in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is also called Blue, but with a more interesting style? Come on, man. This just seems lazy and heading to plagiarism territory. Or just kids have no imagination for names, whatever. But yes, he's the main guy up front. I don't need to tell you what he's done in the past. However, he has actually come out and made a couple comments about the movie, as in a recent interview, he was said to be very excited to be reuniting with John Krasinski, since after all, they both co-starred in The Office. A US version, anyway. Specifically saying, well, I haven't started working on the film with him yet, but I can't wait. I'm anticipating just joy and fun. I mean, he's the best, and he's a great director. I'll put him through his paces, though, you know? I'll make him work for it. I might be one of those persnickety actors that doesn't always agree or won't come out of my trailer. You think you hired somebody as a friend, but you got that wrong. Which just seems like a very sweet little add-on. And though I could totally grumble about you shouldn't hire your friends, you should hire talent. It's fine. Not everyone is super established cast. Anyway, jump forward to August of 2022, and Bobby Moynihan was added to the cast. Though what the word is on his casting, no idea. And then at the end of the month, on August 31st, 2022, principal photography began for the movie. And then in April 2023, the voice cast and premise had finally been revealed at CinemaCon 2023. And jump forward to May, and principal photography ended. Since then and now, of course, proper production had begun, filming's been going, we have footage for the trailer. Though interestingly, the original release date for this movie was set to be November, the one just gone, before then being delayed to May 24th, 2024, and then a bit back to May 17th, 2024, distributed by Paramount Pictures in the US. Other casts we have since heard about and potentially have connected the dots to who the characters are Emily Blunt as a unicorn, Maya Rudolph as a named character called Ali, Jon Stewart as a robot, Sam Rockwell as S-Dog, Sebastian Maniscalco as a magical mouse, Christopher Maloney as Cosmo, Richard Jenkins as an animation figure, Liza Colon-Zayas, somewhere in there, Vince Vaughn also there, and Aquafina as Octocat. Who is her agent? She is getting all the roles in the world. You've then also got what sounds like the voice of Carl from Jimmy Neutron.
Thanks for doing this. It really means a whole lot.
But apparently that's not him. That's not Rob Paulson, but you can definitely tell what they were going for there. This movie didn't really hook me when I first heard about it, and to be honest, with that one musical sequence, I'm even wondering, is this secretly a musical? There seems to be a thing lately of movies being musicals, and they're not really being marketed as that. You've got that for Wonka, as well as something else recently. Oh yeah, Leo. Leo was one of them as well. I think this movie seems to have gotten a lot of people's attention, but maybe not that massive as one I was expecting. I personally am not as hooked as maybe I would normally be, and I've kind of voiced what my issues are. It all depends on where the story goes. John Krasinski is clearly very good at what they're doing. I just hope they take it in an interesting direction. The whole doing auditions to see a bunch of characters is done before. Ryan Reynolds seems alright in this, and hopefully the celebrity casting will make things actually decent quality and talented rather than just bolstering up an opportunity to cram in all your celebrities because it's only a voice role. I don't know, we'll see. I've been told to talk about this movie from every source ever since it came out, so here it is. I'm certainly not going to criticize it all the way to the end and say it's doomed to be terrible. I think currently I'm just sitting on the fence over the whole thing. There are some things I would really like to see succeed, and there's certainly potential for people to nail it. People did cry over Bing Bong, why can't they cry over Grimes? But for now, I'll just end it off there. We'll just have to see how John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds do come round to May of 2024. For now, though, I'll be ending it off here. My name's been Daz. You didn't really care. Let me know your thoughts about this movie. Do you have any other criticisms or concerns, or are you just full-on 100% Ryan Reynolds fan? Which is legitimate if you are. Like, what are your opinions? Genuinely, I don't know if I'm odd on this. And I'll see you in a little bit.
I'm not gonna ask you again. Put some pants on. You're freaking everyone out.